Hi, my name is Jim from Custom Poker HUDs, and in this video I'm gonna do an in-depth demonstration of the C1 cash game HUD of CustomPokerHUDs.com. Let's start with the basic stats. You can find them in the second line. From left to right we have VPIP, PFR, 3-bet, squeeze and fold to 3-bet. When you click on either VPIP or PFR, the preflop basic stats pop-up appears, which shows the positional stats of raise first in, fold to 3-bet, 3-bet, fold to 4-bet and call a 2-bet. When clicking on the 3-bet stat, the 3-bet pop-up appears. In this pop-up you can find the info you need when facing preflop 3-bet. Here you can find in yellow the 3-bet numbers for each position versus each position. In red the 4-bet numbers with total 4-bet, fold to cold 4-bet and fold to 4-bet after 3-betting a player who ISOs a limper. In the blue area you can find the positional numbers for squeeze and fold to 4-bet after squeeze. And finally in the green area are the late positions fold to 4-bet numbers. How much button fold versus a cutoff 4-bet, and how much the big blind and small blind fold to a 4-bet after 3-betting a late position steal. When you click on the squeeze stat, you can see the fold to squeeze pop-up, which shows the amount the player folds to a squeeze as the first preflop aggressor or as the preflop caller. When clicking on the fold to 3-bet stat, the 4-bet pop-up will open. Here you will find all the info you need when facing a preflop 4-bet. Within the pink area, the 4-bet numbers, the positional stats of the total 4-bet after raising, the 4-bet range and 4-bet in and out of position. In blue, there are the positional fold to 5-bet numbers, and in yellow, the amount a player 4-bets after making a late position steal. The next two lines are the C-bet and fold to C-bet statistics on flop and turn, in and out of position. When clicking on the C-bet in position in green, the C-bet in position pop-up appears and shows you more in-depth stats when facing an in-position C-bet, like fold to check raise after C-betting in position and fold to probe bet. This pop-up is very similar as the fold to C-bet out of position pop-up, except in the out of position C-bet pop-up the stats are filtered differently and instead of probe there is a float bet or missed versus missed C-bet. When clicking on the fold to C-bet in position you can see the stats that you need when somebody flats you in position. Fold to C-bet, float bets, fold to check raise after making a float bet and fold to delayed C-bet in position. And very similar when clicking on the fold to C-bet out of position, you can see the stats you need when somebody defends the big blind. This pop-up includes fold to C-bet, check raise when defending the big blind, donk bet, fold to raise after making a donk bet, probe bet, fold to raise after making a probe bet, and fold to delayed C-bet. The bottom line is C-bet flop and turn in 3-bet pots in and out of position. When clicking on the in-position stats, you can see the most useful stats for post-flop play in 3-bet pots when either the preflop 3-better or the preflop caller is in position post-flop. And in a very similar way for when the raiser or caller is out of position post-flop. On the top line you can find the player name, amount of hands, fold big blind to button steal, fold to turn bet, fold to river bet and fold to check raise. Since sample sizes are small for fold to flop check raises, fold to turn and river bet, we made these global stats in an easy to use in-game statistic to figure out player tendencies in relation to folding to post-flop aggression. When clicking on the fold to turn bet, you can see how much a player folds to turn bet, turn raise and turn re-raise in and out of position, and in a similar way for fold to river bet. When clicking on the fold to check raise, you will find the pop-up related to post-flop raises and fold to post-flop raises in and out of position. With fold to raise or check raise, fold to re-raise and fold to re-raise on all post-flop streets. And also the amount the player raises or check raises on all streets. Finally, there is the main pop-up. You can access the main pop-up by clicking on any stat that has no individual pop-up assigned to it. or just to click on the black empty area on the HUD. The main pop-up is uses for turn and river decisions and blind versus blind play. For the river decisions we have one at showdown based on betting line and the one at showdown based on river bet sizing. These pop-ups will help you make exploitative folds or calls based on the info it provides. The one at showdown based on betting line shows how much a player won when he triple barreled, bet checked betted, check betted, check bet betted, or check betted in and out of position. At the bottom part you can find how much a player won at showdown when he donk betted or check raised any given street. The one at showdown based on betting sizes shows you how much a player won at showdown when he betted a specific size in percentage of the pot for less than 25% pot, to overbet bigger than 155% pot, and on the bottom how much he won when raised the river in and out of position. And in a similar way for turn bets. Finally, we have the blind versus blind pop-ups where you can find the info that you need when playing big blind versus small blind. In the big blind pop-up you can find how much the big blind calls, folds and 3-bets facing a steal from the small blind, and how much he folds to 4-bet, raises versus small blind, limp and folds to limp re-raise. In the small blind pop-up you can find the steal from small blind percentage, fold to 3 and 5-bet. The limp, limp fold, limp call and limp raise percentage from small blind. Okay, so we're almost done. I'm just gonna tell you that you can buy the C1 Cash Game HUD right now at custompokerhuds.com at a discounted price. Thanks for watching. See you in another Custom Poker HUDs video.